rock. Draft a quarterback, you know that's good at throwing dots. The right wide out can put a team's lights out. Scoring one play because he ran the right route. A good kicker get you 6 on a field goal. I like to trap it on the waiver, there's some real gold. PPL is like a game of chess. You need to think ahead to have a chance to be the best, and that is facts. It's a war between the alpha and omega. More intense than Street Fighter on the Sega. Your team is weak, it's time to make a couple trades. Get a player off the waiver just to plug them in and play. Do whatever that it takes so you can win it. Make it to the ship so you can say that you were in it. If you don't win it, then it means you're number 2, and number 2 ain't number 1, so number 2 ain't good enough. Just means you couldn't get it done. You had a run but couldn't finish. So when next year comes, I hope you're doing something different. Plan to make it to the top, you need to build right. Make a trade to win the game as if it feels right. 25 is here, the new year starts, draft night. Hope that you're ready for the fight like Friday night lights. Keep the enemy in sight, try to beat them like you might. Yeah, fantasy is back and PPL is where it's at. PPL is where it's at. The wait is finally over, PPL is finally back. Everybody ready, trying to be the next champ. Yeah, you know the show is starting when you hear the new rap. Welcome back to the twins, to the GAFF and the gods, to the boss. Trade 50 in the squad, to the plays, baby gas, Argonauts and the skulls. We've been waiting too long, man, it's finally time to ball. Yeah, it's time to get it on.
And just like that, we're 3 weeks in. PPL Live, Geno the Gent here with Ulysses as Hate. You know what time it is. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump into our week 2 scores. Starting with the Argonauts leading, no doubt, 174 to Trey Fitty's 91. Squad underestimated gets to 2-0 and an impressive showing in the prestige matchup of the week. 129 to 92. The GAFF attack also jumps to 2-0. Gets by their Omega Conference rival Patty's Twins. 119 to 103. Only for the boss. Gets the win in the Alpha Conference. 96 to 64. And the Skulls squeak by. Survive the Monday Night Miracle. 95 to ATG's 92. All right, man. Tough week in the PPL in week 2, man. What jumped out to you?
I mean, certain teams are really starting to define themselves. Other teams got to really work things out. We're early on in the season, but I think we're starting to see some differentiation between the contenders right now.
Oh, no, definitely, man, definitely. I mean, it's already early, but we're starting to see who's who already. And, I mean, the injury bug is biting. Speaking of that, it's time to get ready. It's time to get going. It's time to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, PPLers, you know what time it is. The good, bad, and ugly of week 2. Ulysses, let me hear it. Good, bad, ugly, your week 2 slate.
Yeah, I mean, I had them in a win, and they handled business. You hit on it. The Argos leaving, no doubt.
Yeah.
I liked how they did it. I mean, Thursday night, I need about Trey Fitty had to be worried. James Cook and A-Chain were just unstoppable, especially in that first half. I mean, those guys were, I think I saw a stat that James Cook had literally the best running back half in Buffalo history.
Oh, wow.
And so when you're going to have that kind of day, and you see where he got it from, I mean, he had 4 guys in the lineup who put up 20-plus points. The other thing on his bench that's got to be encouraging is Devontae Adams had a big day.
Great day.
And after week 1, I was really concerned what that was going to look like. And so, the Argos just put together a quality lineup, one against an opponent that they needed to, I think, get at. He did not want to go 0-2 and have a team like Trey Fitty up 2-0. So I think it was a great week for the Argo.
All right, man, let me hear your bet.
I've got a controversial bet, and I know a lot of some owners are not going to like it.
Okay.
Because you rarely give a bad and a win, but
okay.
I think the situation of the week warranted it.
Okay.
And that's going to be squad.
Man, here you go, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said it last week. I mean, he had 2 in the lineup when we had the conversation. Made the wise move to move him out.
Right.
But two is looking like he's not a guy that you're going to be playing for a while. And even if you do, you're not going to be starting him with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unfortunate situation, but that's further compounded. Christian McCaffrey's on IR. Puka Nakua's on IR.
Right.
And these are players that are going to be, I mean, Puka and McCaffrey were keepers. McCaffrey was projected, to be the number one fantasy position.
Yeah.
And that's not replaceable.
Right,
so
right.
It's great that Saquon and Alvin Kamara this week had standout weeks, but this absolutely kills Tyreek Hill's value, in my opinion.
Okay.
And so I think Squad's got enough talent on this that if he makes some good trade maneuvers, I think he could really position himself.
Okay.
But barring that, he's going to have a real time riding the waiver wire, getting the kind of production, especially as bye weeks are on the horizon.
Wow, man. I mean, it's hard to give a bad to a team that almost put up 130, but I feel you. I feel what you're going. All right. So if that's bad, I mean, what's ugly, man?
Ugly's Kevin's TNT. And, I'm not going to beat this to death, but I mean, a terrible coach loss. Barring Nico Collins, there really wasn't a lot of excitement on this team. I mean, I guess I see why he kept Justin Tucker because, I mean, hell, he was one of the top scorers.
Here you
this
go.
team has a lot of question marks. And when you look at their bench production, this bench put up 97 points.
True.
They had 64 in the lineup. Management needs to make better choices when it comes to game day. It was an ugly week, but Kevin's TNT showing that they got some more depth than I.
There's some talent. No, there's some talent.
He needs to start getting these matchups together, though.
No, I mean when you look at the bench and the production that was on that bench, I mean, Jared Goff or Joe Burrow in that lineup. And maybe if you, make a few other lineup decisions, you might sneak away with a big upset win. So no, Kevin's TNT did get kind of ugly for them, man. I'm gonna go completely the opposite of you, man. I think that you kind of bugging right now. I'm gonna go squad underestimated as my good, and I'm gonna give you a couple of reasons why they're able to get big time production, 30 plus, 40 plus point production from different guys in this lineup. And a lot of the times, that's what wins you a week. And that's what squad underestimated still has healthy. Every guy that I see in this lineup is still healthy. Stephon Diggs and CJ Stroud still have not shown out yet. It's a lot going on good for squad underestimated. 2-0. Got a big win against a high-scoring team. Now, the United players weren't as impressive as we thought. I'm going to get to that in a second. But squad is doing what they have to do. I think that they have a lot of contingencies for some of these injuries, and I think that they'll be able to get through it. I'm totally on board with what squad underestimated is doing right now. My bad is actually their opponent, and that's the United players, the Destroyers. Bears coach, bro, what are you doing? I mean, you got to make a few more moves there. I thought the Anthony Richardson play was wishful at best. When you got Dak, you could have easily went there. Now, it only got you 6 more points. But if you're a little bit more serious about your coach play and you play a better quarterback, you're in this matchup now. Things are bad also for the United players because they lost Isaiah Pacheco potentially for the rest of the season. I mean, that's production.
It's looking that way.
Yeah, and that's production that, you're just not going to replace. Kansas City's not going to even be able to replace that. They're bringing in guys as a committee to replace the production that Isaiah puts up. So it's going to be tough for the United players. Now, I did say that they're deep, but I don't see any running backs on this bench here as I'm looking. I see a whole lot of receivers. Now, that is the flex spot, but they're really, really thin at the RB position, and they may be needing to look at making a move or two to solidify their RB position. And now my ugly is a team that I had as my good going into the season, and things have just gotten off to the worst start, and that's to appease the gods. I mean, this is the second week in a row that the coach play has just hexed this team. Let's talk about it. Week 1, Cincinnati, huge favorites. ATG grabs the coach. They lose the biggest upset of the weekend. Ravens, huge favorites, playing the Raiders at home. They lose a huge upset. Both of these teams were at home, opening up against teams that we thought were inferior. ATG has to get it right at the coach spot. The only real bright spots I'm seeing are at the running back positions. This team has a true deficit at wide receiver right now. There's no big plays. Now, I said this earlier in the year that it could potentially be an issue that all these guys are scramblers. So a lot of times they're looking one or two reads and they're breaking, and maybe they're missing some of these guys on these deep routes. And it's dogging ATG's receiver production so far this season. They've got to get the receiver spot figured out if they're going to have any chances of making this season up. Otherwise, they're headed for another ugly season in that Omega Conference that's starting to look like it's going to be another dogfight. But as I always say, what's past is prologue. It's time to move on. It's time to get into the week. And we get started in a big matchup in the Alpha Conference, a war that we've seen in the playoff. Two teams that have sat atop the conference over the last couple of years. We got a big one. We got Only for the Boss taking on the Argonauts. All right, man, big one here. Argo, Only for the Boss. We got a lot of guys already needing to be replaced off of that injury list. Cooper Kupp out. We got Deebo Samuel out. Obviously now Kyron Williams, guys like Devon Achane, they're going to have to carry the water for these teams. These two teams, proud rulers of Alpha throughout the years. What do you think of this one, man? Big one for both these teams, Only for the Boss and the Argonauts.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And both teams at 1-1. I mean, early jockeying for position is at stake. Only for the Boss, always chief heavy, and that is hitting them a little bit this year as through the first two games. This Chiefs offense, I mean, is just not as, I'll say, prolific as it typically is. What's really impressive about that Chiefs team is its defense.
Yeah.
Spagnuolo really has those guys playing ball. And again, the Chiefs offense is clearly capitalizing. It's just not leading to those explosive double dip opportunities that this team has really come to rely on.
Okay.
I will say that they absolutely have the potential here. But when I look at the matchups on the other side, I really like what the Argos have going on here. I mean, when I look at their lineup, we're only on week 3, but this guy only has 2 guys starting that are not in the top 10 when they're within their position rank.
Okay.
And that's Caleb Williams. And so let's see if he ends up going there. Somewhat of a risky play, but Herbert is a little banged up, and so we'll see if that factors.
Right.
I mean, and the other's Devontae, which, after what I saw last week, he's got a really solid squad here. The one question mark is Justin Jefferson, but I still think that he has the depth to go somewhere else if needed.
Yeah.
He has quite a few options. So I actually got the Argos winning this Alpha Conference dogfight. I've got them in a relatively close one. I've got the Argo going 126 to Only for the Bosses 123.
All right. This is a tough one, man. I like a few things on Only for the Boss's side here. I like that Kyron Williams is now going to be basically the major breadwinner in that LA offense. They're going to go run heavy. Now, San Francisco, they looked a little softer to me against the run against Minnesota last week. I think there's going to be room for Kyron to get busy, and I think that he's going to be a very big part of the passing game for the Rams this upcoming game. So I expect Kyron to really eat. Devonta Smith is another guy who's going to get a larger share of the offense because of A.J. Brown's injury. I really like that play. And I like the Jawan Jennings play to replace Deebo Samuel. He's a guy that has earned the trust of Brock Purdy. He's going to be involved in the offense, and it's not a bad play, especially against that Rams defense. And then, obviously, we got the Kelsey Mahomes connection on Sunday Night Football to close it out. Now, on the Argonaut side, they look pretty imposing, except for the most important position, and that's at quarterback. Caleb Williams played a solid first half, but that second half, the game really got away from him. And I don't think that they've got really many other options that are currently on the roster right now. I think they might have to look into free agency if they're going to have any chance of getting real major production out of that. I think that the Colts are probably salivating at Caleb Williams coming to Indy. Now the rest of the lineup does look strong. Kittle should benefit also from Deebo's injury. Chris Godwin has a great matchup, and Justin Jefferson. I mean, let's be real. A lot of that production came off of one play. I don't know if the Argonauts can depend on that. Now the running backs look pretty good, but that's still a lot to trust. I like Only for the Boss actually here in an upset. Not so sure about that Seahawks coach. I know that Skylar Thompson's playing, but that looks like a game the Seahawks will get caught slipping in. I like only for the Boss's chances. I love the Zach Moss play on Monday night, along with, like I said, Jawan Jennings. And I think Jerome Ford could have a big game against the New York Giants. I got only for the Boss actually in a lower scoring game here. I think the Argonauts come back down from that leave no doubt performance. I got only for the Boss 122 to the Argonauts 115. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a big matchup in the interconference ranking. Omega versus Alpha. We got Patty's twins taking on I Need About Trey Fitty. All right, man. Trey Fitty, Patty's twins, big one here. Both of these teams sitting at 1-1. Both of these teams coming off of huge conference losses to the defending conference champion. What do you think about this one? Both of these teams need this one. Brock Purdy against Jaden Daniels. Some exciting matchups in this one, man. I like this matchup. Trey Fitty, Patty's twins.
I do. I like this matchup a lot. And I think that, Patty's twins, eked out a win in week one, lost a relatively close matchup last week. Again, Coach Loss really, I think, doomed the Twins last week.
Right.
But I've got the Twins in a leave no doubt performance. I'll tell you
interesting.
why. I think Brock Purdy and company are playing at the Rams. We saw exposed last week by the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
So I expect San Francisco is going to be salivating for a bounce back after last week. The Jordan Mason pickup was huge. I mean, the Twins are always so good at finding these kinds of guys.
Yeah.
And the production was immediate. Malik Neighbors showed why he was drafted as high as he was. The Twins seem to be in a really good spot there. Tougher matchup this week with Cleveland, but I still think that it's favorable.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry is playing above expectation. Now, the move that I think the Twins make here that makes this a leave no doubt performance is they go with the explosive potential of Xavier Worthy over Devin Singletary. That Cleveland defense is going to be really I think putting pressure on that backfield, both on the quarterback and on Singletary.
Right.
And I think that's going to impact that ability where I think Xavier Worthy, with some of those injuries on the Kansas City offense, really might be featuring a little bit more. And again, I think we've seen the big play potential. And I think that coupled with the big Lions win at Arizona is going to be too much. The other side, I mean, again, I like what Trey Fitty has together here. But I'm looking for Cincy to have a bit of a bounce back game. I think a rookie quarterback coming into town helps that. Garrett Wilson really hasn't, I think, dialed in just yet. And I think Marvin Harrison's going to have a much harder day against Detroit. I think Dan Campbell and company,
they definitely watched that film.
They're going to be game planning for that. And so and fundamentally, I just don't like the coach here. I mean, Dallas showed, hey man, highest of highs, lowest of lows. And I mean, against a team like Baltimore, hell, they're 0-2, but I think extra motivated to get a W. So
yeah, that's a weird game.
Cowboys-Baltimore game is going to be highly competitive, but I don't know if I'd necessarily want to coach in the match. I think he's got better options out there.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I think that the Twins, again, leave no doubt this week, show their real potential. I've got them going 138 to I Need About Trey Fitty's 119.
Okay. Low scoring, leave no doubt this week, but I dig it. All right, man. I think I'm going to have to go the other way. I think Lions coach is just as susceptible to an upset loss to the Cardinals as the Cowboys are to losing to the Ravens. As we go along the lineup, Jaden Daniels' rushing ability just gives him such a high floor that I don't think his opponent matters right now. I think that Jaden is going to have a pretty solid day, and I think he's due for a touchdown pass or maybe two in this matchup against Cincinnati. And Monday night games are always a little more flashy, always a little more unpredictable, and I wouldn't mind seeing Jaden probably have a big game, and I wouldn't be surprised either. Brock Purdy, I'm with you, man. I think he has a big day. He's got to kind of flex a little bit of muscle now. He's got to show why he is potentially worth a lot of money down the line, and he's got to start doing it when guys aren't in the lineup. I love the Jordan Mason play as well, but I'm with you, man. I'm not feeling the I like Malik Neighbors, but I'm not feeling Devin Singletary. Hunter Henry on Thursday night. Those are always a little more dangerous to me. And like I said, I'm not really feeling Lions coach either. For those reasons, man, I just got to go the other way. I think that Breece Hall's due for a decent day. I know that's Thursday night, as is Garrett Wilson, but I think that they're due for a pretty good game against New England. And I do like the Kyle Pitts play. One thing I would say for Trey Fiddy is I wouldn't mind them, instead of playing James Conner in this one because the Detroit's so good against the run, I would get Drake London in that flex play, put Travis Etienne in that RB spot, because Drake London, I think, is due for a good game against the Chiefs. I got Trey Fiddy to get this one, 124 to Patty's Twins, 120. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a big Alpha Conference game. Survival already for Kevin's top-notch team. The TNT is not exploding right now. We got Kevin's TNT going up against Squad Underestimated, who's looking awesome right now, man. Like I said, this team's looking great. I don't know what you're looking at when you watching this team, but what I'm seeing is a team that's poised to make a run in that Alpha Conference. What do you think of this one? Should be a layup for Squad Underestimated. In fact, I got them in this one, but we'll get to that. Squad versus Kevin's TNT.
Well, I mean, again, my knock here is on Squad's longevity. We always talk about PPL champions. They're determined in November and December.
Sure.
And again, these guys banged up in early September.
That's all around the league, man.
That's more my knock here is, again, I think this team's solid up until we start having bye weeks. That being said, again, I'm seeing what you're seeing this week. I had Kevin's TNT as my ugly, and I'm not going to spend too much time. This is my lock of the week.
Okay.
When you look at the injuries that are very real to Squad, the benefit of them is that they're showing as injured. They're not playing.
Right.
So he can be definitive in going in other places. Kevin's TNT's got 4 people with questionable designations right now, and these are guys he needs to go if he's going to have a chance. Jacobs, Mixon, Nico Collins had a big week last week.
Right.
Dalton Schultz, like these are guys, I mean, with the exception of Schultz, he might be able to go in a different direction there, but all those other 3 guys really need to be in this lineup if this team is to get it done. I just don't see it happening. I will give Squad credit is anybody watching Fairbarn hit field goals, and how D'Amico Ryans is calling that. I mean, he's going to let this guy kick.
Yeah.
I mean, upwards of 60 per game.
Right.
So, I mean, he's really dialed in on a quality position that is going to get him good points. And so I like what Squad has this week.
Yeah.
Again, I like this team. My question is depth once bye weeks hit, and I think Squad can wheel and deal and shore that up. But we'll find out. I've got him again, lock of the week. I think he wins this comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
I got him going 129 to Kevin's TNT's 96.
Okay. I agree with you. Like I said, I got Squad Underestimated here also, but I do have to acknowledge that I think that Kev's TNT has done some pretty good things here. I like the Buffalo coach. I do like the Mike Evans, Nico Collins wide receiver combo, and Jackson Smith in Jigba shows that he's paying attention, and he got Joe Burrow back in that lineup, who should have never left in the first place. But on Squad side, let's be real, man, too good, too great. This is a team trying to get back and win that Pantheon Cup, legitimize this whole run, and they need to do it in style, and they need this victory to help support that. I think C.J. Stroud at Minnesota, that game's probably going to get high scoring. Alvin Kamara showed his that he still has top-notch potential, and I think Tyreek Hill's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. Even if he doesn't have a large yardage output, he'll still get a lot of targets. Stephon Diggs can double up with CJ. I like Squad too much in this one. I got Squad Underestimated, 132 to Kev's TNT's 119. I think that they finally get over 100, though. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a big Omega Conference game. Same thing going on for ATG. Survival on the line. Don't want to drop to 0-3 in conference. We got to appease the gods going up against the United Players, the Destroyers. All right, man. The United Players was my bad. ATG was my ugly. Just not a lot of good things going on over the last week with these two teams. ATG's got to get off the schneid. Was so close Monday night, man. What do you think of this one, ATG United Players?
I think it's going to be a close Omega Conference game.
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing either team running away with any of these.
Okay.
I think again, ATG, as you mentioned, I mean, this guy's got real problems right now. I mean, I'm gonna throw out a stat here. We played two weeks of PPL football.
Right.
He's only had 2 guys get touchdowns. That's a lot of gameplay without any action.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson and David Montgomery. I mean, he's got talent up and down this lineup, but if you're not scoring, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so I think that he has a lot to prove this week. But when I look at the matchups and the talent,
yeah,
I think ATG does have the edge here.
Yeah.
I like the fireworks that can come out of that Baltimore-Dallas game. I expect it to be a high-scoring shootout type matchup.
Right.
I really like what I saw out of Brian Robinson. He got, I mean, as good as Jaden Daniels is running the ball, Brian Robinson's really finding a niche. 17 carries, over 130 yards last week.
Yeah.
He's gone away from Pittman, which, again, is not being utilized by Anthony Richardson.
No, not at all.
I think Richardson is somewhat of a liability here. Chicago is not a great team, but I would say their defense is showing themselves to be pretty good.
Right.
And the way that Anthony Richardson played last week, I think he's susceptible to some defensive mistakes. Again, I've got ATG in a really close one here. I think that they've got some talent, but I don't think either team is really blowing me away just yet. I've got ATG getting it right, catching UP on the slide. I've got them going, finally cracking 100.
Yeah.
I've got them going 112 to the United players 96.
Okay. Man, this is a tough matchup. I think I'm with you, though. I think that Anthony Richardson is going to have a tough game against Chicago. He's susceptible to taking a lot of sacks, and he's not as decisive as a passer as he probably needs to be yet. He's still got to work on those things. On ATG side, I mean, the lineup looks fine until you really get into the meat of things. Mark Andrews is just not getting targeted at the same rate. He and Lamar Jackson got to get on the same page, especially at Dallas. Dallas is going to be able to score some points, so Baltimore is going to have to keep pace in that game. So that's going to have to click, I think, for Baltimore to have a chance and for ATG to have a chance. I love the Tank Dell play. I think that he's eventually going to get loose. He had a for sure touchdown that he dropped. That CJ Stroud hit him right in the hands on earlier in that game that wasn't really brought up or brought to anybody's attention. But that was a big play that he could have had in that game to make his line look much better. I'm loving Brian Robinson Jr., man. This guy is looking like a true stud running back. Austin Eckler has been a non-issue for him. The only thing is that we know Jaden's going to rob him of touchdowns on the goal line and in the red zone. So that's one thing that limits and caps his scoring potential. Love the Browns against the Giants. I mean, that's a great defensive play. Now, like I said, don't like Anthony Richardson. Calvin Ridley against Green Bay. I just don't trust Will Levis right now. I'm not sure about that. George Pickens is another guy that I think is boom or bust, especially the Chargers, the way they've been playing defense lately. It's a tough one. But at the end of the day, I got to go with appease the guys. I like their matchups much better. I really don't even like Derrick Henry's usage in Baltimore so far. I got ATG getting this one, 119 to the United players, 112. And moving on to our prestige matchup of the week. Big win in Omega, big one for the PPL champs. They can really start to hit their stride with a win here. But will the Skulls let them? I don't think so. We got a big one. We got the Skulls taking on the GAFF attack. All right, man, big one here. We got the Skulls taking on the GAFF. The Skulls, once again, trying to get themselves into big-time Omega Conference contention. A win here does that, really helps their season. What do you think about this one? Obviously, the GAFF, they can start to try to get their GAFF out on if they get this win. What do you think of this one, man? Skulls, GAFF.
Well, I think the Skulls quiet the GAFF out talk. Omega Conference is known for being scrappy, and I think that GAFF gets their first taste this week.
Okay.
We saw the issue with A.J. Brown last week, doubtful. I certainly think it impacted Jalen Hurts' production and the coach. And we've already seen Gaff go away from the coach. He picked up the Raiders against Carolina.
Right.
I like that play. I like some of his others. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, is not really taking the step I had expected him to necessarily take.
Okay.
We had talked in the offseason. I think he had a lingering ankle injury or something like that.
Hamstring.
And so I think that may be factoring.
Yeah.
I think that the injuries are what more than hampers Gaff here is, again, with Kenneth Walker, CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf taking some sort of designation into the weekend, just leaves a little bit of uncertainty. Guys may be playing, but are they actually effective?
Right.
We saw Isaiah Likely get into the lineup, and I mean, although he is still
tight end too,
number one tight end,
he's a tight end too.
Production did fall off.
Yeah.
I just think that when I look at the other side and I look at the Skulls, I mean, I think Josh Allen has a really prime matchup where, again, Jalen Hurts, they struggled last week. They're playing a New Orleans team that basically went lights out against a Dallas team that everybody got real excited after week one.
Right.
So I think that matchup will be much more challenging.
Yeah.
I like what Ramondre is doing. New England overall has been impressing me with the coaching out there. I think Mayo's done a great job.
Yeah,
they worked down to the wire in the game last week. Dobbins is playing remarkable. I mean, when this guy clearly, when he can stay healthy, he can produce.
Scrappy guys,
really
man.
He's being a fixture, and I mean, Coach Harbaugh knows exactly how to use talent.
Yeah.
Now, Jamar Chase is a question mark, but I think they have to get right against Washington. I think that does happen. As I look up and down, I think the Buccaneers coach is a good play against Denver.
Yeah.
Texans at Minnesota, that may not be the play that I'd make, but hey, you're there. Overall, I think that the Skulls put together enough of an effort.
Yeah.
It's not highlight reel, but I think that they bring the Gaff back to earth. First loss since hoisting the title. I've got the Skulls winning this one 115 to the Gaff's 109.
No, I'm gonna agree with you, man. This is a great prestige matchup of the week, but I think this is one where the Skulls have themselves probably a little showcase here. I'm actually on the other side of you on this Raiders coach Raiders D combination, man. They're going into a game playing a team who just switched quarterbacks. That's going to be a 1 week boost for the Carolina Panthers no matter what. I don't care what anybody says. The Raiders are almost ripe for an upset there. I'm not feeling either one of those plays. The Javonte Williams play, Denver's offense is going nowhere fast. Isaiah Likely, yeah, he'll get a couple of targets, but I feel like you can get a starting tight end on another team who might be able to get a more consistent range of outcomes. DK, questionable, CD questionable. I don't think that matters too much. I think those two guys will be just fine. And I think Kenneth Walker is actually the guy that he's got to really worry about. Jahmyr Gibbs isn't really off to the start that we would have imagined. And Jalen Hurts, quiet as kept, has turned into a turnover machine, man. I mean, his production is ballyhooed by his rushing and things like that, but he's starting to make a lot of mistakes, make a lot of turnovers. And we know how the Mercedes Dome can be a house of horrors for quarterbacks at times when, the defense gets humming, and that's a very real possibility. Now, on Skull's side, love Josh Allen to close things out against a Jacksonville team that is just not very impressive. Love Ramondre opening up the act tomorrow on Thursday with the Jets. And, I mean, I like the lineup up and down. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is looking really good. Jamar Chase and Mike Gesicki is a consolidation of the Cincinnati passing offense. Burrow's going to one of those guys in the red zone. We know it. Ayuk is going to get a bunch of more targets because Deebo Samuel's injured. The only thing that like you said, the Texans D is probably the only question mark. I love Buccaneers coaching a big win over Denver. At the end of the day, I think this one screams Skulls. Boswell's going to be in the red zone or on the other side of the 50, settling for a lot of field goals against that Charger defense. I like the Skulls in this one, man. I got them going 134 to the Gaff Attacks 121. Alrighty, PPLers, thanks for another great week of PPL Live. I had a great week. I hope you did too. Good luck this weekend. Have fun watching the games. Be safe, and may the odds be ever in your favor.